Hello and welcome to the Knit.Purl.Repeat channel. My name is Jess and I'm coming to you from Southwest Florida. This channel is mainly about knitting, but also any other crafty thing I feel like throwing in. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Jess S Makes. So if you'd like to join me today for a little chat about knitting, then please come on in and get comfortable, grab some projects, and let's visit. This is episode 33. And going again. Hello and welcome. It's so great to have you back here again. And if you're new, you will find all of my contact information in the description box, and for everybody as well. You will also find any of the patterns, makers, YouTube channels I talk about linked there, and my patterns from Ravelry will also be listed in that box, wherever that is on your device. So let's start off with my location. Yes, it's different. I was waiting for my husband to leave to go to work so I could record. I'm out in the living room because it is a dark grayish day today. Yesterday, bright and sunny. Today to record, it's gray. So I've got some big windows here and the ring light is on. So hopefully the colors won't get too blown out, but they may not be exactly accurate. That's my disclaimer. So for finished objects, I don't have any finished objects today, but I want to talk about one from last week because today is Thursday, November 6th, 2025, and tomorrow, November 7th, is the release date for Nancy Wheeler's newest sock pattern, the Wild Geese DK toe-up socks. They are released tomorrow, November 7th. So now I've lost them. So I'm not going to go over my socks detail either. Nancy talked about the pattern a bit more in her most recent episode, so a podcast episode here on YouTube. So I will link that in the description box. I will say that the details are there, especially about the first week, I believe it is, of the pattern release. All the proceeds from pattern sales are donated to a veterans group in Canada. Nancy is a Canadian sock pattern designer, and she's chosen a charity to donate those proceeds to for a limited time. So these were my socks as a reminder, and I will be posting pictures after the release date tomorrow. I'll post them on Instagram. They are toe up. They do have a heel flap, have a gusset, heel turn and heel flap construction. So if you're used to knitting top-down socks and you like a heel flap and gusset and want to try out toe-up sock knitting, this would be a great pattern I would recommend. Nancy has some short tutorials as well linked in the pattern in case you need them. But the best part about it is you follow the math, very simple math, you can do it. To plug in numbers to figure out when you begin your gusset increases. And it works. You just have to trust the math and it works. The only reason it could go wrong is if you don't measure something correctly or you've divided instead of multiplying. Anyway, just follow the instructions Nancy has. They're very simple and straightforward. And I would recommend that you measure your row gauge because that's what you're going to use, right? So you know how far along the foot to knit before you begin your gusset increases. Measure your row gauge on the stockinette portion of the sock and use that, plug it into the little equation, and you will know when to start increasing for the gusset. So in conjunction with the release of this pattern and why I'm bringing it up again today is that YouTube reminded me 2 weeks ago that it was this channel's first birthday. So what better than to give away a couple of patterns for this sock. I want to be able to donate to the cause as well, but as a test knitter, I already own the pattern. So I will be purchasing a couple of the patterns during this first week once it becomes available, and then gifting 2 of them away to a lucky winner. So I will not be drawing names from this episode. So I'm just bringing it up now, but in the next episode, which should be episode 34, I believe, that's when I will be reminding you to comment if you would like to be in the drawing to win a pattern for these socks. If you would like to be in the drawing to win win a copy of the pattern, the digital pattern, but you want to be able to gift that to someone you know does knit socks and you do not, that's okay too, because whoever is receiving the pattern, that's whose contact information I will be giving to Nancy so she can send it through Ravelry. So again, I will announce this again next week, in the next episode, which is probably next week, and that's the one to put a comment in for the drawing to win a copy of this pattern, the digital copy. Okay. I do not have any finished objects other than that one from last week because I've been working on some of my, primarily 2 other projects and some new cast-ons and coming up with ideas and working out the math, working out the pattern, doing all of these things for future cast-ons. So today what I'm going to focus on are the whips and a couple of new cast-ons and a couple of plans, not the things that are worked out, not the things that I need some more time to get my brain wrapped around. So let's start with the cardigan I've been working on. So that is the Comebackigan cardigan, a pattern by Andrea Mowry. If I can wrestle it out of here. It has grown. It has grown. So last time, let's see if I can get to it here. I've thrown it back in my bag because this is not the first recording for this episode. Last time, I believe, I was just above this mushroom. So this mushroom marked 9 inches from my hem up the body, and I needed to get to 11 inches before I added on the sleeves that were waiting on barber cords to be attached. So I'm just past, I think I got to about 11¼ inches because you have to end on a particular row of the 4-row pattern so that it will match up with where you stopped on the sleeves. So I have attached the sleeves, they are on. I will say, this is my first time working bottom up for a cardigan. And so once you attach the sleeves, it was all very loosely attached until you start to knit some more. So wrestling with it was a bit of a feat. Sometimes it is getting bigger, but look, now I can actually hold it up because the sleeves are attached and show you what it's looking like. Oh, I love it. Let's see if I can do it from the right way around. Show you the fronts and the sides. I mean, it's a cardigan, you get it. So it is growing and I can't stop working on it. And that is because Andrea Mowry has done some wonderful things in this pattern, keeping the knitter in mind. When you are working up, you start doing the raglan decreases. I've never done raglan decreases from at all. I've always done the increases because I tend to work them top down. So this is bottom up. And you don't work all the decreases at the same rate. So the sleeve decreases and the body decreases do not occur at the same rate. And then because this is a V-neck construction at the front, you are also occasionally going to be decreasing along the neck edge while staying in pattern. So you think, right, your brain would probably blow up thinking, oh my gosh, I have to create something to keep myself on track. Andrea's done that for you. It's in the pattern for all the sizes. She has a chart color-coded that shows you this row, here are the decreases you're doing. So she tells you whether you're doing it for the body and the sleeves, just the body and the neck, everything, or just working the stitches as they appear. So that is one fantastic thing I am so thankful is in the pattern, because that would have put me off just thinking, oh, I know to stay on track, I'm going to have to make something like that, which would take ages. So I really appreciate that inclusion. And there's also a video link on tips on staying in pattern when you're doing the decreases. Now, I always think, I get it. I know what I'm doing. But I found that it was always good to just click on that video, watch the video, just to confirm whether or not what you think is what's supposed to be happening is what the designer wants you to do, right? The amount of times we think, oh, I don't need to look at the pattern. I know how to do it, only to find out later that was wrong. So it's really helpful just to get your head into the game, because sometimes, because you're doing knits and purls, but the purls are switching places, it's not difficult, but it's helpful to keep that in mind as you're going along. But I can't stop working on it. There's the texture. It's just very, I think the color went really bad there. It's potato chippy. I get to the end and think, oh, we'll just do the next one, right? I think when you're checking off rows for things, it makes me feel like, oh, just one more row. Oh, just one more row. So I'll do this into the night because it's generally pretty easy to do, even while watching something on YouTube, whatever it might be. What am I watching right now? Oh, The Great Australian Bake Off. I've been watching those episodes. So I really love this, and it's moving along. And because you're decreasing, right, that part's going to get done fast. I'm not looking forward to picking up the stitches for the button band, but I just don't like to pick up stitches ever at all. But it's part of the process, and I love this cardigan, and I can't wait to wear it. So that's mostly what I've been working on, but I have also picked up my Kevät. I didn't do a post Rhinebeck purchase. This is something that I didn't look at in Rhinebeck from Mitered. I was walking with a friend. They said, there's Mitered. Do you want to go inside and look? And I said, no. You sure? No, it's not on the list. No, I'm not going to look in there. Well, I should have, because I had regrets. So I went online and bought this bag. I think with bags, but I can make a bag. Yes, of course you can. But the fabric is really nice. This is really well made, and it was not expensive at all. I think it was a really good price for it. It was really good hardware. Yeah, so I'm really happy with this purchase. So just as a reminder, I am using yarn from Junction Fiber Mill. I am using their Roots Light in the color Cedar as my main color. And then this contrast color is their Mill Blend in the warm tones as my low contrast color. So a bit further along than last time. I'm not going to go through that saga again. You can go back and watch that episode. But I have gone farther. So I have finished, I did the colorwork section with the baubles. I did go up a needle size. So let's back up. I did recast on for the size 4 in the pattern, but sticking with the US 4 needles, which had a smaller gauge than the pattern. So it will be smaller than the size 4, but based on my math, it should come out fine. I did go up though for this part of the color work to a US 5 or 3.75 millimeter needle, because the first time I knit it with the US 4s, it turned out to be like a woven braid. Like, it was beautiful, a beautiful fabric, but it was woven. Like, you couldn't stretch it any dimension, just like any woven fabric is really inelastic. So I went up a needle size, so we have some nice stretch in here, and did the baubles. There are 58 baubles. So you make a bauble every 3 stitches. Every 3rd stitch is a bauble. And using the bigger needles, I did one less knit loop to make the baubles. They didn't always come out right, the same, which I don't understand, because I was pretty sure I'd done them the same every time. Some of them I had to redo 3-4 times to get it right before I moved on. I just was trying to make them look good from the front, mostly, for this section, and then didn't care about the back as much, because I'm not looking back there. So everybody wants to, criticize my baubles back there, keep it to yourself. Last night, I got through the lace section at the top here, and I just started the next color work section. For that one, I'm going to stay on the US 4 needles. I'm not going up because it's a very simple pattern that I think I can keep my gauge okay on. It won't be as tight as this first colorwork section. So I'm going to stick with that. And so I'm moving along. This is very squishy fabric. This yarn is nice and squishy. It's really nice to work with. Holding it in your hands is a very enjoyable experience. And it has that nice fresh wool smell. Yeah, it's not super sheepy, but it's got that fresh wool smell. Kind of like fresh hay, maybe. So that's what I've been working on as well. Mainly those two. Well, I picked that one up more this week because I got sidetracked working on something else that's come up that I'm going to cover in the next section, which are my new cast-ons. Let's first talk about socks before we talk about the other things. I did cast on a pair of socks. Here they are. Now I've thrown them on the sofa, so they're a bit off. There they are. So I am doing a toe up 2 at a time, magic loop on the same needle. This, the pattern is the DRK Everyday Socks. I've knit many of these. I really like the pattern. It has a fleagle heel. I could insert a different heel in there, but I don't want to do the work. So we're going to stick with the pattern. I am using, for the toes and then later the cuffs, I'm using this yarn from the Woolly Thistle. It is their Rambler base. It doesn't have any nylon in it, but it's a blend of wools that are really good that I'm sure this will hold up really well for the toes and the cuffs. I believe the color for this one is Lake. I think that's what this one is. The main color is West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply, which I also got from the Woolly Thistle. So if you're in the US and you're looking for someone who sources or sells the West Yorkshire Spinners yarns, you can check them out. This is from their bird series. This is the colorway Pheasant. Now, you know, things can't go so smoothly these days for me with my knits. So when I cast them on, I knit the toes each separately on different needles, and then when I did the yarn, I tried to start them at the same place. What I found out later is one of the socks, I had this color orange at the start. The other one I hadn't realized was this color orange. In the lighting, they looked like oranges. It wasn't until I got up to this purple color stripe that I realized in the other sock, the next color wasn't purple, it was this color, and then purple, and so on. I thought, oh, they're not exactly the same. Do I care? Do I change it? I'll just keep going. Well, I kept going because magically the color changes were happening exactly at the end of the needle on both socks, on both separate balls of yarn. Everything was synchronized. It was unbelievable. So of course I messed it up by deciding, no, I want the socks to match, be on the same color. So I pulled one sock off, ripped back, found the right spot of orange, measured them out, thought, yeah, it looks about the same, started again. So now, do they match up? No, they do not match up. But the weird thing is, the other sock, the colors are not ending on the end of the needle again as they were before. So I've upset the universe, the balance in the universe with my socks. So I have been kind of fighting with it in adjusting tension to force them to end the same. Now I'm at a point where you see here, if I turn them around, that they're definitely not ending, where am I now? Definitely not ending the same. So these only covered a couple stitches. This one changes after this many, even though I redid them over and over, changing my tension. I think that's too much work for a pair of socks. So I have to let go of the control and just knit the socks. But can I? Tune in to find out what's going to happen with these socks in the end. Anyway, I am going to use Nancy Wheeler's math calculation to determine when to start my gusset increases, which I'm going to have to work out my stitch gauge, my row gauge soon, because this is about 4 inches already. Typically for my foot length, I have to knit about, and the gauge, I knit about somewhere around 5 inches before I start. But that just depends on how many rows I'm getting with that yarn. So I need to measure that to work that out. But otherwise, I'm following the pattern. I don't remember the size. It might be ladies large, but it's the 68 stitch size for these socks. And they are knit in 2x2 ribbing the whole way through except for the heel, back of the heel for the fleagle heel. So that's my newest, one of my new cast-ons. My other distraction this week is a spoiler. So if you don't want to hear about the One Love mystery shawl, the mystery knit along from Joji Locatelli that's going on right now, and if you don't want to see the Farmer's Daughter Fibers November Sock Squad set, then look away, skip ahead, come back later, and do so now, because that's what I'm going to show you. So here my redesigned project bag that I purchased from the Farmer's Daughter Fibers. It holds, has 2 compartments, so it can hold 2 projects. So I do have 2 projects in here. I mean, it just called for it, didn't it? I mean, look at that. Opens up, 2 projects. So yes, I have 2 One Love shawls on the needles, but you know, there could have been 3 eventually, but one of them didn't work out. So for the shawl, I'm imagining it's going to be something about the same size as this in the end. I didn't measure what this is, but it's a Joji Locatelli pattern. This is her lightweight hipster shawl. And if you've watched previously, you know that I love shawls and I love the one skein shawls. And I have a whole episode about one skein shawls, whether they're knit or crocheted. So I'll try to remember to link that below if you'd like to take a look at it. Of course, since I recorded that episode, which was early on in this channel, and I had a cold, so I can really hear my voice like yodeling in the video. The Ravelry bundle that I have, I do add to that. Although I haven't added this one in. I will add this to it as well. Anyway, my point is, it's probably about this size because we did a similar thing where you start with a garter tab and then you build outwards and you increase in garter stitch and then eventually do some lace to the end. So I'm imagining it's going to be something like this. So I started with using my Farmer's Daughter Fibers November color that I talked about last time. It is here, and so that's Clue 1, which came out last Saturday. Clue 2 comes out tomorrow, November 7th. So we will build on that. I'm trying to get to the lace. There we go, to show you. So that's where it ended, is in this little lace section. So that's that color. Oh, all the purples. It is so pretty and so soft. So this is the full skein. If you want to look at the ball knit up here. I tried, after this got done, because I worked on this Saturday, because the only other thing I was doing was getting the house cleaned, getting kids logged on for their piano lessons. That was it for Saturday. So that got done relatively quickly. So I cast on another one. I tried using my Miss Babs Rhinebeck colorway that I had purchased this year. It is a heavy lace weight, but I didn't mind it being a more open gauge, but I didn't really care for the look of those colors in the garter stitch. Sometimes garter bothers me. I'm not a huge fan of garter most of the time. Sometimes I'm okay with it, but I didn't like it. So I ripped it out. And so I looked at all my other one skeins I have lingering around, and I came up with another one. And I'm using my yarn from a Yarnable subscription from 2024. This is on their plush sock base. It was their October 2024 color, Bitch Please. It is super, super soft. You see that it's an 85/15 superwash merino nylon. And it used to have a partner that I gave away, so it was a single. It was single once again. And so I did cast it on Saturday or Sunday. I can't remember which day. But I messed up the lace at one point, and then I got sidetracked. So I didn't actually come back and finish the lace until last night. So this is the colorway. The color is in here. So I got through the lace last night. I had to do this. It's only a few rows of the lace, but the slightest bit of attention span getting lost and working in poor lighting meant that I'd keep messing up. So I had to work back, and then you do decrease stitches, and then I try to undo the decrease, and sometimes that would get messed up. Anyway, you know how that goes. Here it is. So I think that looks pretty good as well. So this is super soft and squishy, and I love it. So I was thinking I would either, keep some or save them for gifts. The question is, which one would I keep? I know that one of the possible recipients has already commented on Instagram that they love the color of one of these. So we'll see. We'll see how charitable I'm feeling when it comes to the end and I see what they look like in the end. All right, so that's at least got put on hold until the next clue comes out, which is tomorrow. However, there is something else I'd like to do tomorrow and this weekend. So that brings me to plans and future plans. Okay, Deb, if you're watching, here's the part where I'm going to try to explain about the striped yarn. You ready? Here it comes. Oh, maybe I better have a little bit of iced coffee first. Okay. The playful knitter, Melina, who has a wonderful channel here on YouTube and is the playful knitter on Instagram. She and I think her friend Lona, who's the lonely sock lady, are running a knit along for making mitered square blankets, or at least the blankets. I'll put the hashtag up here on the screen because it's escaped me at the moment. And I thought, oh yes, I want to make one of those. I saw Melina's from last year, I think it was, or this year, but from another Advent set she had. She had self-striping mini skeins, which are fantastic. I can't find any here in the US based on my searches, but I thought I've got leftover sock yarn, self-striping sock yarn. I'll use that. Plus, I had started a mitered square blanket some time ago, but the ones where you just do the little square, add another square, and so on, and I think I just lost the flow. I'm not even sure where it is. It still exists somewhere in the house, I think. Anyway, what I really loved about this version were the squares, the frames, the borders around each square and how it set it apart. It reminds me a lot of the quilt that Deb and I, my friend I'm talking to, started, our Christmas quilts, that I need the fabric to make the frames. And anyway, I really like that frame. And I like, there are a couple of free recipes that are available. I'll put that link below. And I like the one where it is the mitered for the stripes as well. Instead of them being horizontal, I like them being in that mitered shape. The one that Melina has an example of, or maybe it's Lona's, uses 6 stripes. Of course, it doesn't matter, you do whichever. I don't have anything that had a 6 stripe repeat. They were like 4 stripes or less, but I thought it would work. However, it turns out, according to Ravelry, the reason I couldn't find where those balls of leftover sock yarn went is because I used them up to make more socks. Fair enough. I remembered last night that when I was visiting Deb in England last summer, we came across yarn at a market and it's self-striping yarn. And here they are. So this is from Second City Yarns. Oops, there she is. Self-striping. It is on their 100% British non-superwash Kent Romney wool. And so those are the 2 colors. Harbom Carnival and Commonwealth Games are the 2 colors. And I realized they're actually, I think, about the same colors, but just in lighter and darker tones of them. I couldn't remember how many stripes this worked up as, so I did find a picture, a video that I quick zoomed in on and counted the stripes, and I think there are only 4 stripes, but now when I look at them, 1, 2, 3, 4. This one's definitely 4 stripes, but this one I think actually has more than 4, so I might pick this one. I thought I could just, even though I'm not going to have a whole menagerie of different colors, they're going to be the same colors, I could start in different parts of the sequence and just knit them. I mean, I really only need to knit them until they're the right size. So I just have to work that out. Of course, to find out how many stripes, I should actually knit it up, shouldn't I? But I was being lazy. I asked Deb, do you remember how many stripes? Of course she doesn't remember. I didn't remember. So I think that's what I will do on Friday is I will start it. I will start knitting my square and see what happens with the striping in this color. I only have 1 hank of the border colors, so I will have to get some more of that later on. but that's fine. I'm going to use the Miss Babs White Peppercorn colorway. It's a fantastic neutral that should pair really nicely with this yarn. So that's coming up. Now self striping, yes, I'm still going to start working on the top. I talked about before, that's knit bottom up as well, and just the regular stuff here. I was just trying to work out how I'm going to do this, the neckline later, because it's a boat neck and I want to bring it down a little bit. So that's what's holding up, sorry, itchy nose. So that's what's holding up that pattern. But I'll have some time coming up where I've got lots of time. So I'll be starting my back and forth stockinette on the body on that one. Can't remember the name, but you'll know it. I'll show it to you later anyway, if you don't remember what the world I'm talking about. Anyway, self-striping yarns, getting back on track. That is a plan. And I do have some other plans, but I want to get them a bit better gelled together. I did some swatching. I've got some yarn wound up to swatch to get ready for my cast on. I'm either going to have a Thanksgiving Day cast on for a garment, or if I finish one of my other projects before then I'll probably let myself cast that on. It's one of my red projects, so that's coming up. Okay, that's it for me this week. I hope you got some time to work on a project. So let me know what you're working on. If you'd like to, drop it in the comments. I love to read about what everyone is working on. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend or rest of your week, depending on when you're watching this. And until I see you next time, take care and happy crafting. Bye.